She wraps up some terrifying days in the Republic of Dagestan in Russia, not just what we've seen tonight, but also a Jewish center set on fire, death to Jews signs, Jews cannot rent apartments, violent rallies. Yes, this is happening this weekend in Dagestan. Joe Brown and Natasha Shargotova with what's happening there.
A pogrom attempt in the 21st century. Over 100 men gathered outside a hotel in Russia's majority Muslim region of Dagestan, demanding to know whether Israeli refugees were staying in the building. The anti-Semitic riots were spurred by a video making rounds on social media, claiming to show an Israeli strolling outside the Flamingo Hotel in the southern city of Khasavyurt. The mob demanded all the guests look out the windows so they could make sure they weren't Jewish. When the demand wasn't met, the men started throwing rocks to chants of Allahu Akbar, clamouring to be let into the hotel to check the cellars. The police came and allowed a couple of rioters to go into the hotel in search of Jews. Luckily, they couldn't find anyone. Since then, the hotel reportedly put up a sign saying that Israelis and Jews are forbidden from entering the premises. An anti-Semitic rally also gathered outside a government building in another city in North Caucasus. At first, the citizens of Cherkessk demanded officials guarantee no Israeli refugees will be let into the republic. But the demands grew. And a Jewish centre under construction in a neighbouring republic was set on fire, and death to Jews was scrawled on the walls. Officials and religious leaders have been scrambling to quell the wave of anti-Semitism in the region, forbidding pro-Palestinian rallies. But so far, it seems like there is no end to the hatred.
And we want to welcome now President of the Conference of European Rabbis, Rabbi Pinchas Goldschmidt, former Chief Rabbi of Moscow, joining us this evening from Jerusalem, where it's relatively safe compared to what we're seeing in Russia tonight. Believe it or not, Rabbi Goldschmidt, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I would just begin without any question, really, just to ask you to describe what those images, again, nearly 85 years since Kristallnacht, that we're seeing tonight in Dagestan, are making you feel.
I would make more a parallel to what happened 120 years ago in Kishinev, the 1903 pogroms in Kishinev. But we're getting reports from different cities in Dagestan, which is a Muslim republic in the southern part of Russia, from Cherkessk. We saw what happened in the hotel over there, that they tried to make the Hotel Judenrein, and the police let those rioters check the passports of every person who is living in that hotel, the burning down of a Jewish center in Nalchik, and also in Khasavyurt, and what happened in the airport in Makhachkala. Now, there are parts of it which are surprising, and there are parts of it which are not surprising. I described the situation of the Jews in Russia since the beginning of the war of being hostages to the relationship with Israel. And I've called at the end of 22, the Jews, whoever can leave Russia should leave Russia because of the deteriorating relationship with Israel, and which have, since the 7/10, have deteriorated even further. Now, what has happened last week was the Foreign Ministry of Russia met with Hamas. President Putin met with the religious leaders of Russia. He has called for the continuous brotherly relationship between the different religious communities in Russia, Muslims, Jews, and Christians. But he has not condemned the massacre of Hamas on 7/10 in Israel. He has not done that. What he has done, he has commented on the many civilians who are getting killed in Gaza today. Now, what could have happened? That this was a sign from above to those rioters that the government has changed its mind, and it is okay now to start riots against Jews. And here we see the result. what is surprising is that everything in Russia is controlled. If a person makes a peep against a war against Putin, is getting arrested right away. And here you have crowds of people in 5 different cities making a riot, and the police is not getting involved.
So it's not that authorities are not doing enough to safeguard Jews? You're suggesting, Rabbi, that they might be letting them to carry on with those acts?
I think that and according to the pictures we're getting from Chasavyota, and also the pictures we have seen from Makhachkala, the police not only did not prevent from those rioters from coming into the airport, into the hotel, they were even helpful to them. Now, at a later date, tonight there was already it's called the Следственный комитет, it's like the FBI of Russia, in open a criminal case against the rioters in Makhachkala, and I understand that they got from the Kremlin, they got the directive to stop those riots in Dagestan. The question, of course, arises: what happened initially? Why did these riots happen? Who was interested? And what sign did they get from above to do that?
And as we speak, Rabbi, the federal airport authority in Russia is announcing that the Dagestan airport will remain closed until November 6th following these riots. Rabbi, with us here in Studio I-24 News, a senior diplomatic correspondent, Owen Alterman, closely covering what's been unfolding this evening in Russia. And again, it is alarming to think, Owen, that authorities are, I wouldn't say giving a kosher stamp to these events, but not playing an active part in curbing them. That's for certain.
Yeah, what Rabbi Goldschmidt said, Eli, makes us, I think, more worried and more concerned and more alarmed. I actually had a question for Rabbi Goldschmidt, if it's okay, because there's almost an action item that was almost pregnant in something you said. One of the comments you made, Rabbi, was that the Jews of Russia are essentially hostages to the relationship between Israel and Russia. And one of the arguments that's been made over the course of time since the outbreak of the war in Ukraine is that Israel has to tiptoe around its relationship with Russia in order to protect those Jews. At the same time, especially given what we've seen over the last few weeks, there's a real inclination here in Israel to break away from the relationship with Russia, to tack towards the United States, and of course towards Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky, who has been so supportive of Israel over the past few weeks. What do you think about that? Would it be dangerous for Israel to tack more in support of Zelensky because of the presence of Jews in Russia? Or can Israel feel that it can safely do it and in some sense justifiably and rightfully do it, given what we've seen over the last few weeks, especially from Moscow?
This is a very loaded and difficult question. It's a parallel question to today, where the Israeli government has to decide what is more important to do right now, is to destroy Hamas or save the hostages in Gaza. So these are very difficult questions, and of course, every Israeli government has to consider the safety of the Jews in Russia. On the other hand, the Israeli government has, first of all, to take care of the safety of its own citizens, of the 10 million citizens in Israel.
Rabbi Goldschmidt, before we bid farewell, simply put, Rabbi, are Jews safe in Russia?
I think the Jews today are in a difficult position. It's a semi-totalitarian society and country and system. There is almost no influence from outside countries of what is happening in Russia besides Iran and North Korea, who we know are the greatest friends and concern of the Jewish community. So I would say that, speaking openly, I'm concerned about the Jews in Russia.
On that note, President of the Conference of European Rabbis, Rabbi Pinchas Goldschmidt, former Chief Rabbi of Moscow. Yes, dark times for Jews all over the world, but as we have done in the past and likely will do many times in the future, we shall overcome. Rabbi Goldschmidt, thank you very much for your time.